to? No one. We're saving them for later.
Welcome back to Bravo Hot Tea, where we cover all things Real Housewives, show recaps, other Bravo shows, and some good pop culture tea. We will be going through the latest episode of The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. My goodness, what a show. 10 out of 10. Now, before we continue, I do want to say my heart goes out to the people who are being evacuated in Pacific Palisades and other areas with wildfires in the LA area. As well, my heart goes out to the pets and the animals that also need to be rehoused. I just want to say to you guys, thank you for joining me for the next little while, whether it's to get away from just, life in general, or you just want to share this time with me while we go through the show. If you are joining me for the first time, subscribe if you haven't already. As well, audio for this recap will be available on Spotify and Apple, so you guys can take this on the go while you do your errands, you're taking your dog for a walk and whatnot. Without further ado, subscribe, rate, comment, do all that good stuff, engage. I love to see your comments, and yeah, let's get into it. All right, guys, Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. My goodness, the show is so good. 10 out of 10. I was like laughing, cracking up. Like the women were just so good. Just so good. They work so well together. This one's bickering with that one. That one's trying to bring up what happened with the other one. So good. So we start the episode with the women in the Sprinter van. What's her name? Lisa is bringing up what went on, what conversations happened. She's not happy. She wants to see what the heck did Bronwyn, Heather, who else was it? Angie K say about Lisa and Meredith, because at the start of the episode, we see Bronwyn went up to Lisa shortly after the dinner, and she said, I regret, basically talking about you, Lisa, and this is what was said amongst the other girls. And then, of course, Lisa brings that conversation up in the Sprinter van. Now, do you guys think Bronwyn is just being like messy, or she's being naive, or she knows what she's doing and she's like stirring the pot? Like here, Lisa thought, oh, we're going to have such a fun day. We're going to do some activities. We're going to go on the ATV. But it was not sitting right with her what Bronwyn shared with Lisa. And so right off the bat, Lisa brings it up. What did you say about me? And then Angie's like, well, what did she bring up? Like, Bronwyn's running her mouth, but like, what did she bring up to you? Now, because of all of the Britani recording drama in the Sprinter van in the morning, the ladies don't actually get to finish this conversation, but later in the evening when they have their dinner, they do resume to this conversation. And this is the conversation Bronwyn was going on about. Bronwyn ran to Angie, ran to Whitney, ran to Heather, and was basically telling the girls how she doesn't feel supported by Lisa, and she didn't like, all that happened on the boat the previous day. And Angie, Whitney, Heather were there for her being supportive when it came to the response Meredith and Lisa gave to Bronwyn. So Bronwyn didn't say that to Lisa. She basically said, oh, I engaged in some conversation with the other girls. And of course, Lisa's like, well, what conversation did you guys engage in about me? Like, Lisa's not even like, well, what did you say about me? Because Bronwyn ran to Lisa about that. She's now curious, well, then what did the other girls say about me? Like, already Lisa and Angie, I wouldn't say they're on back to a good standing. They're still on shaky grounds. Lisa and Whitney, it's like oil and water. That's never going to happen. Heather and Lisa, they seem to be all right. And then it's Bronwyn, who I think is mad that she wasn't in the same villa as Lisa. And that's why she's just going around talking crap. And then when she feels an ounce of support by Lisa, or she's like in her good graces, she runs her mouth and basically the other women are collateral in her need to be closer to Lisa. So I do think she is two-timing, and we do see Heather calling her out for being a two-timer in the conversation at dinner. Okay, Britani truly is a wild card, and in the after show, what was her name? I think Meredith called her that as well. In the after show, Meredith was like, the other women, regardless of what I say or do to them, I at least kind of know how they're going to react or respond. Whether it was Britani, her behavior, what she does, what she says, is just like so out of the blue, like so random. And the woman couldn't believe that Britani is essentially recording them. And the only reason Britani got found out that she was recording them is because Angie Katsunavis was sitting behind Britani, and I don't know, it looks like she's a little bit more elevated so she can see what Britani's doing on her phone. And so Angie catches Britani recording. And Britani's like giving 5 different stories. The women are yelling at her. A Sprinter van and the Salt Lake City ladies, it's never gonna be a fun ride. So Angie catches Britani recording, and she's like, "Why are you recording the conversation?" And keep in mind, at this moment, they're having a heated conversation when it comes to Bronwyn, Lisa, Angie, Whitney, Heather. Like, what did Bronwyn run off to Lisa about in that breakfast conversation? They're all kind of heated. And then here we have Britani recording, and Britani's like, "Oh, I'm not recording the conversation. I'm sending a video to Olivia." And Olivia, what is that? Her stepdaughter? I don't even know who Britani is, and I don't know all the players in her life. So it's kind of hard to keep track of Britani and her announcements because, like, we barely know you and we barely know the people in your life. And Britani's like, "Oh, she got 100% her math test." It's like, girl, there's a whole, World War III going on in the Sprinter van, and here you are taking cute little selfies, or so she said to the ladies. Like, time and place, girl. So the ladies are pissed, and, they're like, "Okay, well, we want to see the recording. Show us the recording." Angie is so funny. This is a Angie Stan page. I love Angie. She's hilarious. She's like, "Swipe to the left like you do on Tinder, and then press play." This entire episode had me just giggling and laughing the entire time, like all those little side comments. And I feel like you truly have to watch these shows with the caption on, because then sometimes you could like miss it. And at this point, the women are just like badgering Britani, like, "Show it to us, show it to us." Um, we got Meredith in the back of the Sprinter van saying, "You need to leave." I swear to God, Meredith, every chance she gets, she will use that line on someone. She's used it on Angie quite a few times. She's now utilizing it on Britani. I mean, rightfully so this time. And then I thought it was interesting that Bronwyn had I guess, this much oomph against Britani. She's like, "Listen up, Steve Jobs. I don't need to know how the effing iPhone works." Just like how she was standing up. You're in a small area. You have to remember that. These Sprinter vans are not that big. And Bronwyn is standing up, and she is a tall woman. And they're in this like tiny little space. And we have like what, like 7 women yelling at Britani, and then you can even see Whitney covering her ears because there's so much yelling towards Britani. Like, remember what I said about the captions? You really do need to watch these shows with the caption on, because we got Meredith to Britani, "I'm so disgusted. I had you in my home." And Mary with her little side comment from the back, "Get her, Meredith." Oh, that was so good. Now, Heather, I think at this point is beyond dumbfounded, because Heather introduced Britani to the group. Heather defended her in Heather's confessional. It's like, what the heck? I defended this girl, and here she is, time after time, doing the most ridiculous things, whether it's Britani against one of the other housewives or Britani against the entire cast at this point. And Britani just comes across so aloof, so delusional. It's like, girl, do you know where you are? Do you know what's happening? Apparently not. Look, at this point, I did feel bad for Britani. You literally have like 7 women yelling at her in in a small, tiny space. And right when the Sprinter van door opened, Britani seemed like she was like the first to leave, get out, get some fresh air. Um, she walks over to a little tree bench area, sits down. She's crying. She's like hyperventilating. She's trying to catch her breath. Um, at that time, I'm glad Whitney was like, you know what, that was too much, and goes after Britani and just has kind of like a calm heart to heart, just kind of asking Britani, like, why'd you do it? Well, like, why were you doing it? Like, you saw, the women were talking about something, and she's just like trying to get across to Britani. Now, the editors do not help Britani in any way. You can kind of tell who I don't know if they're friends with, but who they want to give a good edit to throughout the season and who they pick and choose where it's like, nah, we're gonna throw you under the bus. Cause this is what the editors ended up doing to Britani and definitely did not help her. All right, so here we see the 4 different stories, the 4 different attempts Britani has in trying to explain herself in a matter of minutes.
Yeah, you sending a video to Olivia. Listen, I was trying to get something out the video to say hi. Oh my gosh, you guys, it's a accident. Who are you going to send that to? No one. We're saving them for later.
That was not a good look. That was not a good look, Britani. Here's the thing, she should have I honestly, I don't even know what she could have done at that point. What was she gonna say? Yeah, I was recording you guys. Like, I know some of the ladies later in the episode were like, oh, you should have just been like honest. Like, what is she gonna say? Yeah, I was recording you guys. I was gonna send it to someone. The other thing about Britani, I think she's so enamored that she's like on the show. Cause Bronwyn shared a little tidbit with the ladies while I think they were like ATVing, a story where they were on the golf course and Britani was taking like a selfie video of herself and then Bronwyn was kind of in the back. But in the end, Britani didn't really take like a selfie video of herself. The part that she ended up saving or sending to her friend was like with Bronwyn. So I'm thinking Britani is just like so enamored with this cast and being on the show. She's kind of like, look at me to her, I don't know, to her friends, I guess. Like, oh, I'm with this housewife or this is what I'm doing. This is my theory. I don't know for sure. And even during the heated discussion with hit me with Lisa and Whitney and Bronwyn and Heather and Angie. I think I don't know Bronwyn. Britney was just kind of like, oh, the ladies are fighting here. Let me just take a quick clip and send it to someone. Was it dumb? Absolutely. Hello, you are on a show. The cameras are there. We don't need you recording the women while you are being filmed. Like, it makes no sense. And who was it? It was like when they were walking around getting food after. I think it was Bronwyn or Heather or one of the girls. They were like, oh yeah, Britani was asking me, so I just want to know, like, what are the rules of the show? Like, what are the filming rules of the show? It's like, the rules are use common sense. How about that, Britani? Use common sense. That's the rule of the show. All right, so I already said the producers, the editors, they are no friend to Britani. The editing for her throughout the season, it's so bad. Bad for her, but funny for us. The producers straight up in her confessional asked her or said to her, like, hey, it was very weird that you're recording the back of the seat, right? And Brittany's just like, oh no, I wasn't trying to record the girls. I was just like holding it for like a second. And then the producers show or the editors show that she had been recording them for like a good 24 seconds or whatever. Girl, that is not like 1 second or a second and a half, as you were saying. And as Whitney is talking to Britani, Britney's like, oh, you can like look through my deleted. And then Whitney's like, you can delete a deleted. Like, you have to go, it's like a whole separate, file in your phone. And then Britney's just like, oh, you could go through the delete. It's like a whole thing. And I'm thinking, so you quickly took a video and you deleted them, and then you went to your deleted folder and you deleted that. Like, it does take a second to find the deleted folder. And if you don't delete pictures and videos in the deleted folder, it will automatically delete that photo video after 30 days. Anyways, this whole thing, Britani crying, did I feel bad for her crying? Yes, I did. But the whole filming, video, recording, audio thing, that was not cool of her. And she really has no other explanation for it. So the ladies get off the Sprinter van, they do their ATV ride, and now they are finally at lunch, and hopefully this lunch isn't as chaotic. And you know what? This was actually a pretty decent lunch. You know, they weren't at each other's throats, so that's pretty good. Britani continues to fumble the bag. And she does another I have an announcement sort of a thing where she's like, oh, I haven't been honest with you guys about something. The one thing I have not been truthful about is dun 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 dun, wait for it. Jared and I do have a physical relationship. Mary's just like, what? Angie Castanevis is just like, what? All the ladies are like, yeah, like we knew that. Like, we know you guys are messing around. Like, is the sky blue? Is the grass green? And yeah, and she's just like, you know, we all knew that. You didn't need to like come out with that. And everyone's just looking at her like, how is this relevant? Now, Britani coming out and telling the girls she has a physical relationship with Jared. Girl, what was it? Like the lacy undergarments, the lacy lingerie that Britani had or was showing to the girls. We all know what you were doing with said lingerie with Jared. I mean, if not with anyone else, definitely with Jared, who you've been on and off with for like, I don't even know how many years at this point. The whole thing is just so sad and so pathetic. And I think Britani is so beautiful. She has such a beautiful voice. I don't know why she's on and off again with this man. Like, it makes no sense. So anyway, she tells them she has a physical relationship. Mary's confessional was just so funny. She's like, this has nothing to do with you recording us. And Angie, this is like, I'm so here for Angie. Angie's just like, I mean, Jared's sleeping with everyone else in Salt Lake City. And basically, like, it's good that he's at least sleeping with Britani. So it was funny. Okay, so it's times like this, I think, as annoying as Heather has been this season, she is integral to this group. And you know, the fact that they're filming Salt Lake City, it's about, you know, these Mormons or ex-Mormons. This is where Heather is crucial. She reaches out to Britani. She's just kind of like, you know, like woman to woman, heart to heart, like, I get you. The whole like Britani telling the girls how she's sleeping with Jared, why it was such a big revelation for her to share with the women is because she feels shame. And Heather knows what Britani is going through or has been going through. And I was surprised to see even Bronwyn look over to Britani and kind of talk about how her past and the shame that she held for having a kid at what? I think Bronwyn had her daughter at like 19, and the shame she carried for all these years. And she's like, no, I'm not going to like carry the shame anymore. And, you know, Heather reaching out to her like, yeah, I get it. And Heather's kind of like explaining to the girls, like, yeah, we're looking at her like you sleeping with Jared. We're not like surprised, but at the same time, you telling us you're not sleeping with him, but now you're telling us you are sleeping with him. Why it's such a big deal is because I guess, you know, Britani is she still a practicing Mormon? She has a lot of people in her family who are very much part of being Mormon. So for her, this is like she's living a double life, and she feels like she hasn't been honest with the women. It's great that she shared that she hasn't been honest with the women, okay, but like it is a bit of a deflection from the recording situation earlier in the day. So the ladies leave lunch, go back to their suites, shower, get ready, get glam. In the meantime, Meredith has a chat with Heather because Meredith at this point is so pissed and so annoyed with Britani. And she's like, what the heck? Like, she said she heard me coughing or or crying, whatever, the other night. And now we see her recording us in the Sprinter van. Do you think she's secretly recording us and she put something in our room or in my room? And Heather is so down for the bit because Meredith went up to Heather's room to, have this chat with Heather. Heather follows Meredith back to Meredith's room, and then they're like checking the light, they're checking underneath the bed, they're checking, I don't know, the cushions, they're checking whatever seats are in Meredith's room, they're flipping it around upside down to see if there are any hidden recording devices. And this bit was funny. Like, Heather is like, she's very good at what she's doing. And Meredith's just like, okay, this whole thing makes like no sense. Like, Meredith didn't even like do her hair or anything. She's so bothered by Britani. She just like went over to Heather to like have this discussion about Britani because Meredith, like, she feels very uneasy, and I understand why. So the ladies finally get to dinner. They all look beautiful. And good for Angie for bringing it up. Lisa thought she was going to have a beautiful, classy dinner. She spoke too soon because in her confessional, she's, talking about how dinner was supposed to go, but no. Angie starts off. I don't know if it's weird that you spun the story to Bronwyn, because you guys remember in the Sprinter van, they weren't able to finish this conversation thanks to, Britani secretly or not so secretly at this point recording them. So Angie brings it up, like she calls out Bronwyn, like she basically spun the story. Bronwyn made it seem like they were all just talking smack about Lisa, when really it was Bronwyn who was feeling kind of low between the relationship between her and Lisa, because Lisa put her in the other suite with the other girls. That's how that whole conversation started at breakfast the previous day. So I'm glad Angie brought it up. Like, no, you're like spinning the story and it's kind of weird. And then, they're just calling out Britani, like, you didn't say it in a clear manner. You're being messy. And Whitney also jumped in, and Whitney kind of called it out. Like, you got to Lisa before us, and you had to like say your part, basically. Like, Bronwyn didn't have to say anything to Lisa. This was like a closed door conversation between Whitney, Angie, and who else was there? Heather. It was just one of those, like, I'm not feeling good about me and Lisa. I don't feel supported. The ladies kind of rally with her, and then that was that. I don't think anything really salacious was said about Lisa, but because Bronwyn wants to be messy, she ran off to Lisa. So let me put it this way. Let's say it was one of the other girls who was having a closed door conversation. Nothing super salacious was said, but then, maybe Whitney ran off to Lisa, let's just say. And Whitney's like, hey, Lisa, I said some things about you. I wasn't happy. And Lisa's probably thinking, well, Whitney, okay, you said whatever crap about me, but who else was there with you? And then Whitney's like, oh, who? Bronwyn was there, Britani was there, and let's just say Meredith was there. Now Lisa's going to be like, what the heck? What did the other three say? And again, it wasn't a very salacious conversation, but it sounds salacious. This part, to me, this small little clip of Heather was so telling, because Heather from the very beginning felt Bronwyn was quite two-faced. And as Lisa, Angie, Whitney are engaged in conversation about Bronwyn being messy, Heather makes eye contact with Whitney, and she's just like two-faced, like calling out Bronwyn. Okay, here's my personal thoughts on Bronwyn, and you guys feel free to chime in the comments. When Bronwyn started out on the show this season, I really liked her. I'm like, okay, her fashion is, it's high fashion, but it's a little interesting. But good for her. I want to see her spend. And let's see what else this girl is about. She was a little messy, but I was like, okay, maybe she's just being a little naive. She's part of this group. She's figuring out how to like maneuver Housewives. She's Lisa's friend, but Lisa isn't taking up for her as much as Lisa maybe should, according to Bronwyn. And so she's like playing all sides. She's just like figuring out what to do. But I think at this point, Bronwyn either is doing the most because, you know, maybe she's been watching these shows for a while and this is how she chooses to maneuver, or she really just is two-faced. And I don't know. I feel like when you play everyone, you are going to be in an island of your own. And at this point, I don't actually know who Bronwyn is good friends with on the show. I don't mean show friends, I mean good friends, because yes, her and Lisa are still friends, but Lisa's going to give you as much Lisa wants to give you. It might just be surface level friendship. Maybe that's all Lisa's going to give to Bronwyn, because it seems like Bronwyn wants to be like super close with Lisa, or she thought she was super close with Lisa because Bronwyn taught Lisa and her husband, the four of them know each other for a long time, is what it seems like. That's the backstory that we're getting, right? But in Bronwyn's words, she feels like Lisa's not being as good of a friend to her. And Lisa's not sticking up for her. But it's like, Bronwyn girl, you get yourself into these messes. Like Lisa can only say and do so much for you. Like, you're a big girl. You can, you know, figure this out. So I think at this point, Bronwyn, she started high and then her stock kind of fell as as we watched more of the episodes. Britani as another newbie on this show this season, her stock was kind of here, kind of went up, and now we're back down here because of her recording antics. So before the dinner, when Meredith went up to Heather, we could see how bothered Meredith was when it came to Britani. And she's still not over the dinner from the previous night where Britani was kind of negging Meredith. Like, oh, how are you feeling? Oh, I heard you crying last night. Oh, you're throwing up. And Meredith's just, calling out Bronwyn, like, yeah, I was on the phone with my husband crying. Like, it doesn't matter what Meredith was doing, but now that Britani got caught recording these women, Meredith's just like, oh, hell no, girl. Like, what are you up to? Tell us the truth. I don't know what Britani's going to do at this point. Like, you're on an island of your own, girl. Now, it's not just Meredith calling out Britani for the recording. The other women also tried to explain to Britani multiple times, not just on the van when she got caught, but also at lunch, and then again, how violated they feel. And of course, everything that went on with the trauma the OGs dealt with when it came to Jen Shah, the FBI, and then the trauma from dealing with Monica from, the previous season, a troll that made it to the cast. It was a lot for these women. I did find it funny when Mary's like, what the heck? What kind of a recording would we get if Meredith was recorded? Like, it would be so boring. Like, what would we even get from that? Like, nothing. All right. When the ladies were on their way from dinner back to their suites, Meredith was now annoyed by the conversation Bronwyn brought up when it came to what Bronwyn said about Lisa and Meredith because of their response on the boat ride. And now Meredith is perplexed, like, okay, well then what did you guys say about me? Like, I want to know. And at this point, Heather, she's a little tipsy. She's having fun with her hat. The other girls, they seem a little tipsy for the most part. They just want to have fun, go to bed. Meredith, she is not having it. Heather over here is fighting for her life when it comes to Meredith, because Heather is like, well, certainly not me. And she deflects and she's like, we're doing an audio test, because, Heather really wanted to see, can you hear anything from Meredith's room? And Heather was not interested in engaging with Meredith as to what was said about Meredith and Lisa at breakfast with Bronwyn. Look, at this point, we have a very pissed off Meredith Marks. She's very much engaging, even though she wants to disengage. She's very much in the mix of it all, whether she wants to be in it or not. She basically just tells the girls, get your stories right about me, treat me with kindness and respect. I think she's more pissed off that the stories about her aren't even right, or maybe that's what she's trying to lead on to us. Like, yeah, the girls are talking about me, but it's not even like the right stuff. I don't know. She just seems very like bothered. But for me, it's like, do you even want to be on the show anymore? Because what we get out of Meredith is she's very much disengaged. She's in the room, but Meredith Marks, is she here with us? That's what it's giving. Now, this season, we've seen her be super activated, especially in this episode. Now, there are some rumblings online. Maybe she's on something, maybe she's on medication, who knows? I don't know. This is just, allegedly stuff online. Do you guys think we could do next season without Meredith Marks? Because I'll be honest, some of her scenes, the last couple episodes or throughout the season, with the exception of this episode, I've been like in and out of the room. Like when I see Meredith Marks, I'm like, what is she going to talk about? Okay, she's pissed at this one, she's pissed at that one, but she's always in the right. It's always someone else that's at fault. And maybe someone else is at fault, but I don't really find her scenes like that funny or anything. It's just like, another Meredith Marks scene. Here we go. Now, we got to talk about this special moment with Mary. This was earlier in the episode. At the start of the day, she's waking up. That is beautiful. She's taking a look at the view from her suite, and she opens up about how Robert Jr. On a normal day or on a normal trip, she would call her son, they would have a little chat, but at this moment he's in rehab and he's getting the treatment that he needs. So I think just getting little glimpses and updates of Mary and her son, I think that's beautiful, and the show has done a good job of respecting a very delicate situation that Mary is going through with her son. Guys, that brings us to the end of this recap. Let me know your thoughts on this episode, the entire season of Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. I do think Salt Lake City is like the top tier show now, and I will even say it's above Beverly Hills, even though Beverly Hills is the marquee. I just find Salt Lake City to be so funny. All the girls bring it. The chemistry is so good. The drama is so petty, which I love. I don't need anyone to do digging on anyone's tax returns or their businesses. I don't want to see any of that. I just want them to fight about petty drama, mix it up, mix up the teams or the duos. Mary, love her sound bites. Angie, love her sound bites. Lisa's always Lisa, and the rest of the girls, they're doing amazing. Guys, this was so much fun. I will be continuing the recaps on all the Housewives shows with the exception of New York for obvious reasons. And I'm going to try to add in some other shows as well because there's like so much going on this winter, especially now that we are back from the holidays. And yeah, subscribe, tune in for more. I can't wait to share more with you guys. Take care.